Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day so far. Going to talk to you about some things I missed over the weekend, as well as some things that developed earlier this week. So first and foremost, Senator Chuck Schumer let the entire world know that he and Democrats alike have had an absolute hard-on for the former 45th president. My friend Eminem here is going to sum it up for you real good. Donald Trump makes their slinky go doing, doing, doing. Moving on, President Biden signs an executive order banning the further construction of the Keystone Pipeline, which now makes it seem like President Trump was actually telling the truth during that one debate, saying if we had a presidency under Joe Biden, well, he would disrupt the oil and gas industry. But we all know that Orange Man bad and he can never tell the truth, so we better start talking about something different before we get canceled. Also, we reached out to the White House and we asked the new president what he felt about this particular subject matter, and he said, come on, man, these guys can learn to code. Whatever that means. Moving on, Democrats try and pass a bill saying we need to get dark money out of politics, despite the fact that dark money was used to get Joe Biden into the White House. They're allowed to use it, but you can't use it to unseat them. Last but not least, the Democrats officially give the Senate the articles of impeachment. It will now be an absolute showdown. Let's see how it works out for them. But moving back to the first particular subject of the day, get a little bit of a sense of humor, all right? Life doesn't have to be so serious. Senator Chuck Schumer obviously has the greatest political gaffe of all time, talking about, arguably maybe one of the darkest days in the United States, right? The Capitol Hill riot. But let's just kind of break this down a little bit. If you at least disagree with what it is that I have to say, can we at least agree this is the best political gaffe of all time? Like, let me know if you think there's a better one, okay? But I think this is the perfect, like the absolute perfect break from reality, right? A little bit of humor, just to make everyone go, all right, come on, let's kind of settle stuff down just a little bit. So now on to some serious news, as if I give you serious news. But moving on. So the Keystone Pipeline. I talked about this before. It's been going on, I think, for probably like the past 12 or 13 years. So part of me is like, can we build the damn thing or not? But the other part of me is like, okay, President Trump was campaigning saying that, if we had a presidency under Joe Biden, well, they would disrupt the oil and gas industry. Joe Biden, his campaign, obviously said, no, we're just gonna, put halts on, new fracking, on federal land, stuff like that. So my particular take on this is, well, the Keystone Pipeline has already been in progress, right? It's not necessarily something new. So I really think they should have left this particular one alone, right? I do think that as time goes on, technology and innovation, we're slowly going to get off of fossil fuels, and right, we might move towards, electricity, getting it in a more clean manner. Okay, if that's what happens, if that's what technology dictates we do, okay, so be it. But I'm not in favor of the government mandating, okay, this is what we're going to use now. The government sucks at doing stuff. Let the entrepreneurs figure out what's best for us, right? That's just my take on that. So Joe Biden and his, handlers, who they used to get him into the White House, they absolutely lied to everybody. So I'm going to be very, I guess I wouldn't say surprised, but I'm going to be, I guess, expecting to see a lot of voters' remorse sometime soon once they realize, oh man, they actually were lying to us to get our votes. But moving on, yeah, the Democrats themselves, I think it was led by, believe it or not, Senator Chuck Schumer, I think Pelosi, talking about getting money out of politics. It's something about whether it's like campaigning or like super PACs. I forget what to the extent exactly, but it's the idea to get corporate money out of politics, right? It's supposed to make it cleaner, yada, yada. But, not for nothing, Biden had more billionaires support his campaign than Trump's. So dark money was absolutely used to get him into power. And now they're going to try and take it away. Why is that? Well, because they got in power, so they need to block any potential way new people can get in power, right? That's just my first initial take on that. But next, let's kind of take this a step further. Why do you think these companies, despite the fact that Joe Biden talks about he's going to raise taxes on all these rich people, why do you think these billionaires and these, multi-million or billion-dollar companies flock to him? Well, they're trying to rub his back a little bit, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. They did what they had to do. They campaigned for him. They gave him money in order to win. So what, do you think Joe Biden's actually going to raise taxes on them? Not a chance. They're going to try and say, hey, you got to return the favor. We got you into office. So it's going to be the same story over and over again. Democrats say they're going to raise taxes on the rich. That's not going to happen. We're probably going to print more money, which is going to increase inflation, which inflation itself is a tax in and of itself. Do rich people get necessarily hurt by inflation? No, because they own assets. It's going to go on to the middle class and to the poor. That's just always how it happens. The cycle repeats itself, but no matter how many times you try and tell people, they say, ooh, you're a shill for the corporates, or, the corporate elites, or whatever it is. No, I'm just trying to tell you what we already know. You're just too thick in the head to listen to a different viewpoint. But last, right, trying to make this nice and quick for you. Not much has really unfolded since last week, but the Democrats officially submitted the articles of impeachment to the Senate. So now we're kind of waiting to see or waiting to hear when there's going to be potential hearings, and because it's going to be a long and drawn out process more than likely, right? Because they're going to try and get all people necessary to try and say it was Trump, he did all the bad things. I think they need 17 Republicans to flip, so that's a pretty tall order. We'll have to just wait and see. But in all honesty, Democrats are saying, everyone's crying about, unity now, but we can only have unity with accountability, right? That's like the new phrase that they're touting. Okay, buddy, or buddies rather. Where was the accountability when there were multiple Democrats talking about how, or fanning the flames during the summer of 2020, I always say the summer of love, when you had all the unrest in the streets? You had Democratic politicians actively fanning flames saying there should be unrest in the streets. We should be making people feel uncomfortable, etc., etc. Where's the accountability for them? It's nowhere. So in other words, they were in their ivory towers all summer long. They saw all the destruction going on, but they said, hey, these are our voters. We can't criticize them, right? We can't bite the hand that feeds us. But also, it's not happening on our property, so who cares, right? We're going to get elected and no big deal. So the Trump supporters, right, whether you believe it was actual Trump supporters or not, whether you agree or not with the cause, I've already said I thought it was stupid in the long run, but they decide to take their anger and frustration out on the federal government, right? And they obviously have the riot at the Capitol Hill. So, well, politicians really, I can't even necessarily say just Democrats, they get a taste of their own medicine, right? And the sort of the chaos and destruction that the rest of the country was feeling during the summer of 2020, it comes to their doorstep. So now all of a sudden they're in favor of holding people accountable. Yeah, okay, double standards. And not for nothing, let me just kind of I guess talk about this one last time, because I'm sure it might come up in the future. But you had all the chaos, the destruction, the rioting, the looting during the summer of 2020, right? And I actively condemned it because I said this is stupid. What did Walmart have to do with police brutality? What did Wendy's have to do with the killing of George Floyd, etc., etc., right? Like, it was stupid. It made no sense. But of course, Democrats, it makes so much sense. So I could at least understand when these particular individuals wanted to burn down, police precincts and stuff like that. While I still didn't agree with that, I could at least sit there and say, okay, they're taking out their frustration where, their frustration comes from, right? It comes from the police departments. Okay. So I could at least sit there and say, they're at least, it's consistent, so to speak, right? So that's kind of my first take on that. You get to the Capitol Hill riot. I've already said I'm not in favor of it. Thought it was dumb. It's going to be, it's just going to pin back on people like us, right? Free thinkers, people that aren't going to just lay down and say, oh, Democrats, you're amazing with everything, right? They're going to pin it on us. But not for nothing. At least they took out their frustration where their frustration was. They didn't go, burn down an Arby's. They didn't go loot stores or something like that. They went to the federal government. They went to the Capitol and said, hey, you're going to hear us out now. Okay? So I can at least sit there and say, well, at least they took it out on, the people who they felt really deserved it, and not just innocent bystanders and, individual businesses, etc., etc. Feel free to cancel me now. That's totally cool. I just had to get that off my chest. I feel so much better now. Hopefully you do too. But this is really all the news that happened from, I guess you would say, Friday last week leading up until Tuesday night. So we'll see what the rest of the week has to bring us. But if there's a particular topic you want me to cover, please let me know. I'm more than happy to do so. If you haven't done so already, you can follow me on Instagram. Believe it or not, I'm actually on TikTok right now as well. It's the same name, Thoughts with Fox. No, you're not going to see me dance. I'm actually throwing out the political content there. Believe it or not, there's a ton of people on that particular app. And it's, I think it's a great place to start in trying to talk to much younger people about politics for those that are interested. But as always, I appreciate you checking out the video, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.